Mr. Reed?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, bro. All right. Call this continued meeting from this afternoon to session. First thing we have on the agenda is public comments. Mr. Reed will be our sergeant at arms. Public comments are a time to talk about anything except for the public hearings that we have after that. So if you came here to speak about any of the items tonight, there's a special time to speak about that. If you came to speak about something completely unrelated to that, this is a great time to talk about it. So the first person I have to speak in public comments is Sue Smith. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You got to come up. You say your name and address, and you got 3 minutes. And Mr. Reed's going to hold a sign that says 30 seconds or stop. So 3 minutes from now.
Y'all don't have to bear with me, but I'm a little nervous. I've never did nothing like this in my life.
I got you. It's all right. You got.
We
We hadn't even.
Very normal people.
So anyway, first of all, I'd just like to say thank y'all for listening to me tonight. And I would like to get started. It says, my name is Sue Smith. I live at 1910 River Road in Fayetteville, Virginia. This is the first time I've ever spoke before a meeting. I'm here to urge you to condemn the house on 1996 River Road right near me, and to urge you to provide the legal authority to the health department, the building inspector, and the zoning commission so they can take action to condemn houses in cases like this one. You may be surprised to know that I grew up in this house in 1996 River Road, the same one I'm saying must be condemned. It was owned by my mama. I have cleaned houses for a living, and my house is very neat and tidy. When I grew up, we had to work hard, but our house was always clean and neat. About a week ago, I was coming up my driveway after I got my grandson off the school bus, and we heard a sound of a dog in distress. I immediately called the animal control. They came the next day. Animal control had to wear a respirator to enter the house. It was an animal hoarding situation. There were dead animals in the house. The gentleman from the animal control told me he thought someone had jumped on him, but it turned out to be a dead cat that fell out of the ceiling onto his back. Now I am in the process of helping animal control trap the cats that are left. I have caught 10 so far. They are skin and bones. They're like skeletons walking around with a little fur on them. They are covered with fleas and ticks and have upper respiratory infections. Some don't even have 4 legs. It breaks my heart. I understand that the owner of the house was charged and has been released from jail on bond and is in now Maryland. In addition to call animal control, I called the health department, I called the building inspector, the planning commission. It seemed that no one has the authority to take action against this house. So that is why I'm here today. I'm scared to live in my home with my grandchildren. The owner could come back, or someone else could move in and start hoarding animals again, or doing drugs or worse. I hope you will take time to see the house. But don't get too close or you will be attacked by fleas and ticks. The house is a menace and a threat to the public health and animals and must be condemned. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Jerry Lloyd.
I'll leave.
All right, you saving up?
Yes.
All right. All right, is there anyone who wishes to speak in the public comments at this time? Hearing none, we close the public comment section. Moving on to public hearing, especially the board. Yeah.
What advice can we give this woman?
I would suggest we speak to staff and they investigate and then report back. And then collect her info and find out where we're at.
Where do you go, I guess?
I mean, what Jessica said is.
She has to seek, she needs to speak to those who've already been part of that situation and see where they're at in the process, because there's more than likely always more process than we care to know.
You want to know the scoop? Not the scoop, but the end result. Very little you can do.
So
I don't know.
see if can't
She
talk to
described here.
Well,
Candy and
I agree
see
with you, with her 100%, but
talk to Candy and see where animal control's at on the situation. I would imagine
How
there.
about the health department?
I don't think Tom Mike would have much to do on that side.
it's definitely an issue for him.
Oh, no, it is definitely something that he could do something, but whether that would take care of the situation would be different. Animal control would have the more direct pathway.
So.
So Candy, let us know what you,
Candy's gonna go investigate.
And then report back.
Yep. All right.
thank you.
Moving on to special use permit 690 vacation house in R1. Dylan.
All right, this is a request for a special use permit to allow a vacation house in the R1 residential district located on Afton Mountain Road in the North District. The property is 10.334 acres, owned by Chris LeBlanc and Rachel Horvath. The property has recently been subdivided and has an active building permit for a single-family dwelling with 4 bedrooms. And the owners are proposing to utilize this dwelling as a vacation house, which is defined as a house rented to transients where rental arrangements are made for the entire house, not by the room. Section 5-1-5A of the zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for a vacation house in the R1 residential district. The area is residential in nature. The property is located near the intersection of Afton Mountain Road, Avon Road, and Chrysler Shop Road. Zoning in the vicinity is R1 and A1. There is approximated floodplain on the property, although the new dwelling is not located within the flood boundaries. The property is accessed by a private access easement with an entrance onto Afton Mountain Road, and the entrance plans were approved by VDOT in July of 2021. Septic and well permits have been issued for the property, and it's located in an area designated rural residential on the future land use map, which would allow low-density residential and compatible non-residential uses in rural areas where agriculture is not the predominant use. The sites are adjacent to identified development areas and adjacent to existing institutional or small-scale industrial uses. At their meeting on August 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval 5-1 of the special use permit. And the 4 factors that should be considered for the approval of special use permits are that the use shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development of the area or community. It shall be in harmony with the uses permitted by right in the zoning district and shall not affect adversely the use of neighboring property. Shall be adequately served by public or private water and sewer facilities, and shall not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of any feature determined to be of significant ecological, scenic, or historical importance. Up here is the subdivision plat that was recorded, and this access easement starts on Afton Mountain Road right here, follows through these lots, cuts across the Williams Creek, and then this red is the driveway to the home site right there. And then I'll show you the zoning map as well. Upside down.
Can you kind of point where the road is that comes into the property?
So the road comes up here, cuts through this lot, cuts across the creek, and then the driveway spins around the home site's over here.
Is that this, the bottom piece of land when you talk about?
This
Yeah.
blue outline right here, yep, and the road is right here. So there's an access easement through these lots to get back to this lot.
Is that a name road or?
This is Afton Mountain Road, and this is a private access easement. So this part's private road.
So what kind of land is it flat on this, or hilly?
I believe it's hilly in the back here, which is why the driveway scoops around the way it does. But the applicant owner can speak more to the actual lay of the property itself.
Do you know the width of the deeded access?
It is, gotta be 50 feet, but I'll double check the plat just to confirm.
I don't know, 40.
Yeah.
And some of them say the old farm road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the access easement is 50 feet wide. Now the build out for a private street is only required to be 16 feet wide.
Is there other lots around there that are accessed from this same?
Mm-hmm. These 1, 2, 3, 4 lots are where the easement passes through.
Okay, where is the closest state road?
Right here is Afton Mountain Road. This lot is about 2.5 acres right here. This one is about 10.5.
What's the width of the right of way through there?
The width of the right of way is 50 feet. The build out's only required to be 16 feet.
With that first lot, if it's 50-foot right of way, it doesn't leave a whole lot of.
So this lot actually has an existing home on it. So this one's already built on. I think it's 459 Afton Mountain Road.
All right.
If that helps you at all. Comes through here. And this is the lot.
So it's.
So there's existing homes here, here, and here. And these are all new lots.
Was several landowners that have right of ways just in that little narrow strip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are required to notify all the adjoining landowners.
You know that would, if I came to you and this was all vacant lots, I'd do this.
The vacation home or the subdivision?
They have the right to do the structure. The ability to build the structure is by right. It's the use that we're talking about today.
Go ahead, let me think about it.
All right, well, we hadn't even started yet, so. All right, anything else you need to add?
That's all I have.
All right, let's go to the applicant. Just state your name, story about where we're at.
Chris LeBlanc, Millville, it's 459 Afton Mountain Road, waiting for my 911 address. My wife and I have been in the area for 15 years. She went to undergraduate down there and brought me back up there. We live just south of town. We have 2 boys. Our idea was to have something to get away from our vinyl box neighborhood. let my boys play in the creek. I grew up in Louisiana. I'm used to trees and swamps and snakes and things. And looking to get a hold of something, we faced the same problem everybody else did. We tried to find a house that we could rent and then offset, and we couldn't find anything. So we found a higher end piece of land that was hard to build on, but I knew this could be something that we could stay around for a while. We're just looking to offset some of our expenses. We're there probably every other weekend right now, but we need to offset our expenses to get a little bit further on in our careers. But the plan is for this to be where we get away from our turbulent lives. We have a bunch of precedent going up Afton Mountain Road of existing Airbnb on similar, smaller lots, existing homes. What we're building on is difficult to build, and we're hoping the traffic's going to stay on the lower side.
So the plan is to build a house here and then be able to rent it out, make some money, and then eventually move there?
Play here. We live incredibly close to town, and her and I's business, kids, and everything is super focused around Charlottesville. But she grew up with parents around that had access to the water. I grew up with access to the water. We were looking for somewhere to be able to go and play on the machine or cut grass or just enjoy the peace. So now to eventually move out here, what I'm going to do in 20 years, I can't say. I got 20 more years of raising kids where I'm at right now, but I'm 33 minutes away, so it'll be used by me a fair amount.
What are your plans for fording the creek and the?
There was already a creek crossing put in when I purchased the property. So there's 2 5-foot large culverts with a road over top of it.
How wide is it?
10 feet. No, 20 feet, sorry. 20-foot culverts times 2.
All right, let's get on with the public hearing. If there's no further questions, we'll call you back up at the back side of that. All right, moving into our public hearing, we have the same rules as the public comments. You have 3 minutes as an individual, 5 minutes if you're with a group. If you could specify the group before you speak, if you are speaking on behalf of a group. Mr. Reed will show a sign of 30-second warning when you're getting close to the 3-minute or 5-minute mark, and then a stop. It'll be at the chair's discretion if you have another 30 seconds to finish your thoughts. And if you could just, before you start talking, say your name and address for the record. So moving to the first person on the list, I have a Jana Ruder. All right, hi, welcome. All right, Jerry.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Lloyd. I live at 9322 Rockfish Valley Highway in Afton, Virginia. I obviously do not live near this particular piece of property. However, I am extremely opposed, adamantly opposed to this particular scheme. I have spoken with a couple of landowners in the area, and they're not real happy about it. They've not come to the meetings primarily because they're like, the planning commission is going to do what it wants to do. The board of directors is going to do what it wants to do. What can we do? What is our recourse? And my main objective is the fact that this is an SUP. If you see where the access road is, it will change the area specifically because it's going to have increased traffic. If they're renting it to transients, they're going to be in and out, visiting the bars and the local wineries that are inundated 151 and created havoc on that particular road. It's crossing. It's a right of way. It's not even a paved road. Who knows whether they're going to be following, reasonable speed limits and things of that nature. In terms of the SUP, the Planning Commission at their last meeting lamented the fact that even in this particular area, there's a lot of SUPs. There's R1 with A1, and, you know, the person who's wanting to build this says he's a builder and that sort of thing. He should have known that the R1 is right next, part of his property is A1. He could build his house on the A1. He could build this little business up there. So they should have known about that. The private access, you're driving across people's property. The transients don't have that access. Obviously, they're going to be paying to rent the home, but they don't live in the county. My assumption is that right-of-ways or private accesses were for people who actually lived on the property. This particular couple doesn't even live in Nelson County. They don't live here. Yeah, they're going to build a piece of property, rent it out, and have transients come in and out across someone else's land. Numerous people's land. The Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors are abjectly abusing the intended use of the special use permit. They need to develop the guts to stop it. Use what we have for what it's intended, not to change the integrity of the neighbor's property and the other area around it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right. Chris, I saw you put your name on there, but you're going to be called up anyway. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in reference to special use permit 690? Hearing none. All right. I will now close the public hearing relating to special use permit number 690. Any questions for staff at this time? Is there any questions for the applicant or
For the staff.
you have a question for the staff, Dylan?
Now, a special permit, does that allow them to build more than one of these units?
No, it would just be for this one. And building of the home is by right. They've already got a building permit and have started building. They just want to use this home to rent out. So it wouldn't permit them to build additional dwellings if they did and wanted to use those as rentals. They would have to go through the process again.
How many acres is this property?
10.33.
Why couldn't they build 3 houses?
They could build 3 houses, then they would need to come back for additional special use permits if they wanted to use those as rentals.
You could, without a whole lot of trouble, build 3 homes on this piece of land.
Yes.
I can't go by what you say.
Oh, I mean, geographically, it's not conducive.
Yeah, I guess I should say, I don't know the topography well enough to say that it's a feasible thing, but on paper, they have enough acreage.
We've got houses in places that you wouldn't think.
Tom, I did hear it's not the kind of land which is highly developable.
If it's not a piece of land in this county, it's not developable.
I know, but I mean,
I know what you're saying.
that, yeah, it's conceivable, it's very, what they're proposing, it's not. It seems logical to me, it seems to make sense. You know, because I look at the house, and it's not a huge house, and we are continuously talking about ways in which people can afford to build a house for themselves.
But this isn't a house that you plan on living in.
Maybe.
I plan on spending time there. And so if we're talking about people who use and spend money, yeah, I come down here frequently and I'll use it, but yeah, I'm looking for income to offset.
Wait, are you looking for rental
Hey,
from
Dylan,
it?
have a seat. Chris, come on.
I'm looking for the same opportunities, and by opportunities, I'm talking about offsetting my costs. Like, I'm looking for the rules to be applied the same for me like anybody else. And yeah, 3 houses and all of that. I am a builder and I'm building in some stupid places in Charlottesville. The land is just not conducive. Beyond this, I would put a 3-car garage for me to put some of my toys so my wife stops yelling at me. This really, I can't say, I was stressed at the last meeting about like this being conditional upon me living there. I'm not here trying to lie and say I'm gonna live in this place. And we already know there's a lot of people that are just renting out their Airbnbs, not following any kind of rules. This is me by going through the process, knowing, yeah, I bought a property that was right next to R1. Once it recorded, R1 extended through all of the portion that was A1. My bad on that, but it still doesn't change my intent. I'm following the rules, wanting to pay taxes, and then ideally earn enough to not rent it out as much, because that's what my wife would 1,000% want.
I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying, but
Have a seat, Chris. Did anyone else have any questions for the applicant? One of the observations that we made at the planning commission, and of course, while we were in there, is when you pull up the map of short-term rentals on Afton Mountain Road, there's certainly some folks on that road that are probably not compliant. Without looking too deep at it, more than likely there's some folks in the R1 who aren't approved. And this guy is going through the right process to do it. And that's something to be complimented. He could very well have built it, just started doing it, and then went about his business there. One observation that was made at the planning commission was, as it relates to this particular situation and land, is the topography question. It's not necessarily ever going to be conducive to do multiple homes. It could. You're absolutely right. Absolutely, you can build anything anywhere. Just got to have the dollars and cents to throw at it. I think he's already building the home. Doing it as a short-term rental is not the end of the world in our mind and where the planning commission was. I just don't think it's that big of a deal for this one, especially guys going through the right process too. And there's a lot to be confident there. So, Mr. Reed.
I've got a question for Dylan. So, the applicant has building permit. He's building the home now. If we were to deny the special use permit, he could live in the home. He could move in. He could live. But let's say hypothetically, and I'm not inferring that this is anything that would transpire or that the applicant would consider doing. I'm bringing this up as a hypothetical. Say he was to, start putting that home on the short-term market. What enforcement tools would we have, since he had applied for something, he was denied it, and then was using it for a use that he was basically denied for? What do we have in place to do enforcement of something like that?
Sure. So it would be considered a zoning violation. And we have different ways to research that, neighbor testimony, if they got a business license, certain things like that. But essentially, we send a notice of correction first. In cases where they may not know, in cases where we know they did know, we would start them off with a violation notice. They've got a certain amount of time to reach out to us to, contact us, and we either tell them, hey, you need to stop using it like this, or you need to apply for this permit to be able to do this, but until you get that, you need to stop using it. Now, if they don't reach out to us, if they refuse to, then at that point, we forward it to the county attorney and they litigate it.
Okay. So if we deny the permit, he could apply for a short-term rental permit for the property?
He could reapply. If you deny it, he could reapply after 1 year.
But not for a special use permit, but apply to do a short-term rental. and then get a business license and rent it, because, it's his home, and he's now, because even though he got denied the permit, the ability to do a short-term rental there, could he in fact start renting it again on the short-term market if he got a business license and registered?
I mean, he doesn't even have to do that. He could just turn around and start renting it.
But is he, you
No.
talking about doing it residential, renting out, or commercial?
Well, that's kind of my question. My question is, say we deny the permit and he is resolved to building the house and his option is to live there, or sell property or whatever. But, could he subsequently apply to get a business permit to rent out that house on the short-term market?
He could apply for one, but actually going forward, the Commissioner of Revenue's office is going to be sending anyone applying for a short-term rental to our office first, because the business license doesn't preclude them from getting zoning approval. They're supposed to be getting zoning approval in order to get the business license, which hasn't been a common practice in the past, but that's something that the Commissioner and I have resolved procedurally. So they're going to be sending all short-term rental business license applications to our office first so we can sign off on the business license. So I guess the answer is not legally.
Okay. That's really fascinating, and thank you for that.
I'm sorry, I have another question. What, we have 1,100 short-term rentals in the county now, or something like that?
Nobody
I'm
really
not sure
knows.
what the number is.
I can say from my 10,000-foot research, it's at least 900. I would
They
guess.
each now have a permit to do it?
No,
No, that's the thing. Probably 400 of them aren't even registered, I would bet. Are you kidding
Are
me?
they supposed to have a permit to have short-term rentals? Are you supposed to?
You're supposed to, yes. That's why we were talking about the enforcement
our
earlier.
policy is not to go after them, but if it's brought up to us, then we will deal with it.
Yes, that's why
But
the
we
whole,
don't go looking for it.
that's why the whole discussion this afternoon was what it was. So Mr. Reed and I have been working hard on figuring that out with staff. This guy's doing it right. Listen, he's doing the proper way
Yeah.
about this. Everyone else in the world,
No, I appreciate that.
yeah.
And I do too. This was just, the information you just gave us.
That's good to know.
is
I
really
didn't know that.
It's just amazing me how profitable these short-term rentals must be, because so many people do it.
Yeah, they are.
There's
They're-
places you can make your mortgage in one night.
I mean, I've mentioned it before, as someone who probably have 30, 40 long-term rentals in Nelson, and a short-term rental pays 3 times, and the short-term rental, the person leaves every 3 days. I mean, it's to have more revenue, less headache, makes sense why that market exists.
And they don't want to collect the tax for the people.
I know, and that's why we want to chase that down. So. Anyways, any other questions for Dylan? Thank you, Dylan. All right, board. Planning Commission gave this to us. Approved. What conditions were on it? No conditions, just the standard. What's the board's pleasure?
I move to accept.
Approved as the Planning Commission gave it to us? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Second from Mr. Reed. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey,
No,
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Moving on to other business. I feel like there was something we were supposed to talk about, was it? Or did I throw it all? I think it's probably because of this short-term rental stuff. We already talked about that.
I think something like love life or something.
My love life?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Well, that was.
it's vacant.
It's making, oh, boy, you're gonna get me in trouble now.
If we have no other business.
You motion to
I
adjourn? All right, we have a motion to adjourn. It's
Wait a
second.
minute.
Second.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, have we finished everything?
What do you want to
Yeah.
talk about?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Harvey, the agenda is done. We have a motion from Mr. Reed. Do we have a second?
I.
You second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You can oppose it.
I did, I'm waiting for you to give it.
I just did a vote.
No, you didn't.
Why, we just did a vote to adjourn.
You asked for the affirmative, you didn't ask.
Oh, for the night, would you like to oppose?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Harvey says he's not had enough fun yet.
Easily.
It's the vote 3-1. Thank you all. Have a great day. Appreciate it. What's that?
All those people that voted for